Well, welcome one, welcome all to the SnailTrail4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how fantastic being safe in Toyotas is, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and germs. My name is Safety Officer Tyler. And joining me for another episode of the SnailTrail4x4 podcast is Officer Doofy Jimmy. How you doing, buddy?
Doofy or Goofy?
Doofy. Oh, Officer Doofy.
I like Goofy better.
Officer Goofy? Who's Officer Goofy?
I don't know.
Oh.
But I like Goofy, the Disney character.
Gotcha. Do you know who Officer Doofy is?
No idea.
Oh, really?
Nope. Should I?
I feel like you should.
Okay.
I feel like you would have seen this movie. I'm pretty sure. Oh, people are going to yell at me now. Oh my God. What's the name of that movie? I'm having an aneurysm right now trying to think about it.
Describe it.
The farce on Canadian police officers.
Oh, a Monty movie.
No, it's not a
Royal
Monty Python.
Monties?
Not a Monty Python movie. Not a Royal Monty movie. Oh my God. It's where he goes and is like, giving the person a traffic ticket and he tries to say meow instead of meow.
Super
Troopers.
Super Troopers.
God damn. I'm pretty sure Officer Doofy is from Super Troopers.
Oh, okay.
And if not, everybody feel free to call in and yell at me right now because I feel ashamed if I got that wrong too. 916-345-4744 is our feedback line.
Just scream, Tyler.
Tyler, you're
suck.
Wrong. So yeah, it's Officer Doofy.
Okay. Sure.
I'll have to show you the meme. I know you've seen the meme.
The meow one?
No, the Officer Doofy meme.
Sure.
All right, I'll have to pull it up. I'll have Brian pull it up, put it on our TV.
On air. After air. Anyways, thanks everybody for joining us for today's episode. We have a good one for you. A very important safety one for you. But before we get there, we have some announcements to make.
We do.
The Yokohama Tire giveaway.
Done.
Closed.
All
over.
Yep. You can still leave reviews though. If you guys want to leave a review, that just means you automatically get entered for the next giveaway when we decide what it is. But that last 50 spots going from 700 to 750 reviews went very quick, much quicker than we were anticipating, which is awesome. It's really cool to see you guys step up and have that much enthusiasm for a set of tires. So
absolutely.
Yokohama is thrilled to give away the set of tires too. They were in a really good mood about it. So, we're just waiting for the winner to step up. And if that person does not step up, then our backup winners have a really cool opportunity to take their spot. So, who's our top grand winner? The first place person who's going to win the set of tires if they get in touch with us by August 19th.
Yes, you have to get in contact with us before August 19th, and that is A13X Mont.
Perfect.
A13X MONT. You are the grand prize winner, and you need to get in contact with us, like we said, before August 19th. If you don't get in contact with us, then it goes to our runner-up, our first runner-up, which is Cam B, CAM space B. And if Cam B doesn't get in contact with us, then it goes to Boo Collector.
Not to be confused with Poo Collector.
No, it's not. It's not pipes. It's ghosts.
It's a ghost collector, not a pipe collector.
So you guys need to get in contact with us to be eligible to win. But A13X Mont has the first chance.
Yep. So all three of you, though, reach out to us by August 19th. Because if none of you reach out to us by August 19th, then we have to redraw. So we don't mind redrawing. We're going to get a winner for these tires. But it'd be really cool if we can have a winner like right away and we can get these tires out to somebody and get you guys using those tires. It's a pretty cool, rad thing that Yokohama did. So
100%.
Let's see. So we got that. I will say, speaking of Yokohama and their tires, I needed to get some new tires for the dually already because I put valve stem extensions on the dually so that I can reach the inner wheel from the outside of the wheel easily. And the valve stem extension came loose. It's like a stainless steel airline that you thread onto your valve stem cap, and it extends your valve stem cap essentially out to your outer wheel. That came loose and was kind of like dangling between the two tires and rubbed a hole into the sidewall of the inner tire.
Oopsies.
On both sides.
Oopsies.
Oopsie doopsie. So at 18,000 miles, I get to put a new set of tires on the dually.
Lovely.
And so I inquired as to what options Yokohama has, because I wanted to get a commercial grade tire that was rated for much heavier weights, because I want it to last a long time towing our 9,990 pound trailer, as well as the Lance, which is 4,000 pounds wet, pretty much. Just with the Lance stuff, not with everything else we put in it. So I was like, I really want to get a commercial grade tire on the dually. So I was like, what does Yokohama have?
And what do they have?
They have a commercial grade all-terrain tire.
Really?
Yeah.
That's wild.
So it's essentially like the AT4 with commercial grade rubber and steel belts in it.
Wow. That's impressive.
So the structure of the tire is a commercial tire, but the tread pattern, the lug pattern, is the all-terrain, the AT4, I believe.
That's cool.
Yeah. And so it's a beefed up sidewall, a thicker tread, everything, a little bit stiffer of a compound to handle road wear more, but it's designed for trucks that go into construction sites a lot.
Okay.
So you don't accidentally puncture your tire on shit that's laying around construction sites.
That makes sense.
Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
So I ordered up 6 of those.
I was going to ask 4 or 6. Yeah.
6 of them. And they believe they're showing up today. So once we're done recording, I get to go over to Stellar Built and pick them all up.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's going to be cool. I'm excited to see the rig a little bit beefier.
Yeah.
That'll
right.
be cool. Same exact size.
Same size. Yeah. I didn't want to like go up in size at all. I don't really want to raise the truck. Right. It's not a, I don't know, a fun vehicle, in my opinion. It's a work truck.
Yes.
Right. So I use it for
like Clifford.
Work stuff, like Clifford. Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, Yokohama has all-terrain commercial grade tires. Kind of cool.
Impressive. Yeah. So yeah, go over, leave a review. We're gonna figure out what the next giveaway is gonna be. But all 750 people that have already left reviews, you guys will be entered for the next giveaway. And we are looking for those winners still. So you guys need to get in contact with us. Let's see. Besides that, we have another giveaway going on with us, SnailTrail4x4.
Because we're such nice guys.
We are wonderful people.
We're fun guys.
Yep, mushrooms. And he's laughing over there. The giveaway is a party pack. We are giving away things like tumblers, glassware, whiskey glasses or pint glasses. We're giving away a smoker or charcuterie board or coasters. We've got a whole list of things that you guys can choose from, and we will be doing some custom etchings on them. Kind of whatever you want. To some extent, we can do the Morphlate logo. We can do the Snail Trail 4x4 logo. You need at least those, and then maybe we can work on something else that you might have in mind. But we're pretty much giving you a pick your own adventure. You have upwards of $200, and then we'll list out the prices of those for you for the winner, and you can choose kind of whatever order or whatever item you want.
Yep. Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to this. We like burning things. So
true.
Jimmy has caught a few things on fire before.
Also true.
I have yet to catch anything on fire in my laser.
Oh.
So lucky me, I guess. I don't know. It's
mine wasn't even like that scary. It was just sort of, it was plastic. And so it was just sort of melty, burning. There was flames, but it wasn't like an eruption of, flames anywhere. Like I just turned the laser off and blew on it a few times and it went out. Like I didn't even grab, I have 2 element fire extinguishers on my laser. Yeah. One on each side, just in case of worst case scenario. Yeah. And I didn't even think about grabbing them, like, cause it was just so minor.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, that's good. Yeah, but we like burning stuff. And so this will be a fun project when whatever you choose, whatever group of items you put together, whatever quantities you do, it'll be fun to kind of put them all together and then get them shipped out to you. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Let's see. What else do we got going on?
We got a gift.
That's right. We
to
do
talk
have this
about.
really cool
We've,
gift here.
sorry, Zach from Oklahoma sent us a gift with some awesome artwork on it.
I'm keeping the sticker.
I'm gonna. Well, if they come off that easy, I'm gonna put one on Jeep and Jimmy right here.
Oh no.
Yeah, they do. That's awesome. There we go.
I got mine stuck together.
Cats on Jimmy right there. Jeep and Jimmy. So we got a gift from Zach from Oklahoma. He sent us a Toyota box, Toyota Lexus official box. On this side, it says power ass. And then there's a sticker that covers the rest. So I'm assuming maybe some sort of assembly.
Okay.
But yeah, I shook it. I think I know what's inside, but I don't think I know everything that might be inside. So let's stab the box now and see what we get, huh?
I'm taking the other sticker off.
You can have that one too.
That one's cool. This is the best one in my opinion.
That one is pretty cool. Zach, did you draw these? And
I hope
did they let you, or did the MFers draw these and they just put them on priority labels?
That has to have been Zach. I don't think we have priority labels here.
Okay. We got a few photos.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, no. Posters.
Postcards.
Postcards. From...
Yeah. Wait, what? Okay, so let's see. We got let's go through these postcards. James E. McNelly's Public House. Looks like a really cool bar with a ton of beer on. Holy crap.
I like it.
Let me see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 front and back for each group of taps.
Dang.
So 20 taps per group, and there's 3 groups. So there's at least 60 beers on tap in this postcard.
Wow. That's impressive.
So James E. McNelly's. This
It's another good drawing.
It's another good drawing on the back of the postcard, similar to this one here. It says, "Enjoy the license plates, keep crawling," and then has the picture of the snail there, without as much of the gnarly teeth, and says, "This could be better."
I like that one. It's pretty good.
All right.
This one's got more of a message on the back.
Yeah, this one sounds like there's more of the story here about the license plates. It says, "Sorry for being so late with getting these license plates to y'all. I threw in some stickers that I made. If you find yourselves in OKC, I'll buy you a beer. I'm not a big drinker, but y'all can enjoy it for me. I didn't feel like doing the olive oil trick, or else there would be some cans from local brewers in OKC like Stone Cloud or Anthem Brewing. Also, the water sports for the ZOS Olympics? ZOS Olympics?
I don't know.
Will be held here. 2028 Olympics.
Got it.
That says 2028 Olympics will be held here in OKC. At least the Cannon Slalom.
Cool.
So the water sports for the 2028 Olympics will be held in OKC.
Wow.
Is OKC the place that has the artificial river for kayakers and for slalom practicing and everything?
Maybe. I don't know. It sounds like it.
I know there's a couple places in the country. I want to say there's one in South Carolina, and I think the other one was OKC, now that I'm remembering. But that'd be cool.
Yeah.
To drop by OKC
well,
sometime.
Whenever anybody says water sports, I instantly think swimming. So
yeah. And I think rafting.
Yeah.
But yeah, James E. McNelly. Zach, you'll have to write in and call in and let us know what's the story behind James E. McNelly's Public House.
So I got a bunch, and you got some.
Uh-huh.
My first one's from Texas, and I don't think I've ever seen that plate before.
I have not.
That's a cool one.
Wow, these ones are old.
Yeah, those ones were specially wrapped. I got an Aloha State.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Dang, where'd you get all these, Zach? we got an Idaho Bicentennial.
Nice.
Yeah. That one's thick. Oklahoma, Texas, Indiana. That one's pretty old looking. Another Aloha State. South Carolina. We're going to have to see if we can get all 50 states.
Yeah.
Virginia, Illinois, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Nebraska.
Nice.
That's a good.
That's
curious. Like half the state country right there.
Right? I'm curious how many. So like if we can get every state and then all the different license plate versions from that state.
Oh, that's impossible. I'm sure.
Right. I don't think the room's big enough.
No.
These two are pretty cool. I want to know the stories behind these because they seem very old, very, I don't want to say decrepit, patinaed. We'll say patinaed.
Yeah, okay.
This is New Mexico, the land of enchantment. It says truck.
Oh.
So I don't know if there's a special.
It looks larger.
Right? It definitely feels longer. I don't know if it's compared to those ones.
Yeah, it's more mine than yours.
Mm-hmm. Wait, well, hold on. What? It took me a second. And then this one is cool. Arizona, Grand Canyon State. Also seems like a very old plate. So I'm curious why these were stashed separate of the other ones.
Yeah. This one has a March of 17 on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that old.
Mm-hmm. It's the registration's not that
Was
old.
it just those two?
That was it.
Oh.
Just those two plates.
I gave you two and I took like 30. That's awesome, Zach.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for sending those in. I'm curious.
These are cool.
If there's any stories behind these, you'll have to call and leave a voicemail to let us know.
He probably already has. We just haven't gotten to it yet. Let's be honest.
True.
All right, let's put these away and we'll go over to our main topic.
Sounds good. We'll take a quick break and we'll be right on back with some safety tips for you, everybody. So grab your favorite drink. We'll hear about some cool things Brian over at 4 Wheel Underground is doing. And we'll be right on back.
At 4 Wheel Underground, we have something for everyone's 79 through 04 Toyota vehicle. Whether you've got a Chevy Dana 60, 05 and up Super Duty, fabricated, FJ80, or mini truck axles, we got you covered. 3-link, 4-link, parallel, and triangulated suspension kits, we've got you covered. Under-bed coilover mounts, through-bed coilover mounts, trailing arms, cantilevers, custom-tuned coilovers, and air bumps, we've got you covered. Frame stiffeners, subframes, skid plates, shock towers, and more to come. Make sure to use coupon code SnailTrail at 4wheelunderground.com because we've got you covered.
Welcome back, ladies and germs, to today's campfire discussion. This is one that, I don't know, Jimmy and I, this comes near and dear, I guess, to Jimmy and I. We tend to be, I don't want to say the worry warts, but we tend to take safety pretty seriously when we're out on the trail. I know at least for one of them, I kind of get called the Nazi of this for it. And I'm like, that's fine. You can call me that all you want. I'm still going to do it. But we're going to go over some safety tips for everybody today. And these kind of culminate from the years of off-roading that Jimmy and I have done, things that we've messed up and become victim ourselves because of not following these safety tips, things we've seen other people become victims of on the trail, firsthand experience, friends of ours, people in a group we were in, and also stories that we heard of from other people becoming victims, second or third hand kind of thing. So we just thought it would be a good kind of thing to put together as we're getting into and further into the summer rock crawling season here for everybody that's going out on the trails and going camping every weekend and going wheeling and going out to visit high mountain lakes and all the fun stuff that comes with all of that. There's still a level of precautions that you should keep in mind and consider while you're out on these adventures to make sure you make it back home safe. So
absolutely. We've also probably throughout the last 600 episodes or whatever have talked about every single one of these at some point, but we wanted to kind of bring them all together and discuss them as a main topic, all individually, all together, so that we can have a good conversation about safety for everybody.
Yeah. So with that being said, we're going to talk about safety tips and things to consider, things to keep in mind while you're out on your adventures, maybe some stuff that goes into planning your adventure and things to consider as you're planning that adventure. So, Jimmy's better at organizing than I am and actually split things up based on while you're out on your adventure and when you're planning your adventure. And I did not do that. So I'm curious. You're writing more down? You just had some more ideas?
Yep.
Sweet. So we've got a list that we both made. They'll probably duplicate, and I've got stuff that Jimmy has and vice versa. So
yeah, we wrote down a few things and then we started writing our own lists. And so this will be fun. We'll see who kind of came up with what. I think the first one on both of our lists are pretty much the same. Mr. Nazi over there.
Yeah.
Our seat belts.
Yep. Please wear your seatbelts. I don't know. I've seen accidents happen because of seatbelts. And I've been very close to a couple of events that have had tragedies. People have lost their lives due to not wearing their seatbelts. And you watch those videos on social media of vehicles trying to do a hill climb, not making it, come back down the hill and roll, and people get ejected from the vehicle. There's reports of car accidents on highways, rollovers, and people getting ejected from vehicles. We being kind of close to the Rubicon, being involved with the Rubicon Trail, we get to hear a lot about accidents that happen on the Rubicon.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times when there could be a very minor accident per se, that in terms of like what actually happened, what caused the accident. But because the person was not wearing their seatbelt, it became a much, much bigger ordeal than it really should have been.
100%.
And that's usually the common factor is either drinking and driving or seatbelts. And usually drinking and driving ends up happening without a seatbelt on. So it's the absolute number one thing you can do to stay safe while you are driving a vehicle is just wear your seatbelt. Keep your seatbelt on. It's by far the most effective thing you can do to keep yourself safe.
Yeah. I agree. A little funny side story on this is I was talking to Hustle Nuts because he just got bacon his like 1956 Willys, I think, a military one, and they didn't come stock with seatbelts.
Yeah.
Right. And he has seatbelts in it, but they're not like something's not completely right. Like the seat's not fully attached or the belt wasn't fully attached or something like that. And he drove it to work and he's alive. He's still good, but he just felt very weird, in this super open cab and having just a lap belt that something wasn't 100%. And we were talking about how we are so accustomed now these days to put seatbelts on. Back in the 80s, like it wasn't sort of a thing. Like, and even before that, it was, seatbelts weren't legal at some point or weren't required at some point.
For sure.
And, but now like I jump in a vehicle and I feel naked almost if I don't have my seatbelt on.
Yep.
And I shouldn't admit this, but when I got my truck tuned, I had them silence the seatbelt charm. Because one, it's annoying.
Yeah.
But two, it doesn't I'm always going to put my seatbelt on.
Yeah.
I don't need a thing to beep at me and remind me. Maybe I'm not going to put it on as fast as they want me to put it on, but it's going on.
Yeah.
So stop chiming me.
Yeah.
And I set that up. So, but yes, I do feel that seatbelts can definitely save lives. And if you have a chance to upgrade your seatbelt from just a normal 3-point or 2-point or however you want to call it seatbelt to like a 3 or 4 or 5-point, then I would highly suggest you do that. Also,
make sure you have a roll cage if you're going to a 4 or 5-point though.
Yes, I was going to go there.
Okay. Yeah. It sounded like you were changing topics. I was like, no, we're not changing it.
Yes. If you're wearing a normal automotive seatbelt, you want that without a roll cage because you can kind of slip and move. And if you're going to roll over, your cab might come crushing in on you and the cab can push you out of the way in a normal, in a 3-point, where if you have a 4-point or 5-point, you're not moving. So you need a roll cage to protect you from that disaster.
Cab smushing you.
And 100%. And the last thing I wanted to touch on is don't half-ass your seatbelt and put the strap behind your back and only have a lap belt. Use it to its full potential.
Yeah. We've seen it time and time again. The gentleman that lost his life on Fordyce during Sierra Trek, he was literally just moving his vehicle 20 feet
Yeah.
He just needed to readjust where the vehicle was in order to make a better winch pull. And he was up on an incline and his seatbelt wouldn't come out while he was on that incline. And then when he went to move the vehicle, the brakes failed at the same time.
Mm.
And he tried to turn into the incline as it was coming down. And that's what caused the vehicle to roll. And because his seatbelt didn't come out and the brakes failed simultaneously, he lost his life. I'm not going to say how. He lost his life. The point is that he wasn't moving far. He wasn't really getting out to drive the vehicle and go anywhere.
Yeah.
It was a simple move that turned into a massive disaster. And same when Adam Pfeiffer had his rollover down at KOH. He was like, I was only going to be in the car for 5, maybe 10 minutes going back to camp. I wasn't planning on going anywhere. I wasn't doing a trail. And so I didn't feel like it was necessary to put my seatbelt on.
Right.
And he had a big rollover and had some big injuries. And he was lucky to walk away from, did he walk away from that?
I don't know.
Did he get backboarded out of it?
I don't know.
So anyways, the point is that typically you make the conscious decision to not wear your seatbelt a lot of times because you're just moving the vehicle.
You're doing something small.
You're doing something small and simple, and you're like, I don't need the seatbelt for this. And that's when these accidents happen,
Absolutely.
right? So just anytime you get into a vehicle, just put your seatbelt on. Anytime I see somebody in their vehicle without a seatbelt on, I'm going to call them out for it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sorry if that offends you, I'm still going to do it.
No,
So.
and it's the safe side of things. It's
Yep.
the safe thing to do. Like,
Yep.
hey, put your damn seatbelt on. Okay.
Yep.
You should have it on in the first place.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Seatbelts definitely number one safety factor while off-roading. So do it. What do you got for your next thing?
My next thing gets into while I'm on the adventure.
Okay.
So my list is kind of a lot of stuff while you're on the adventure. I guess I have a couple here. Preparing for it. Weather would be, I think, my next one.
Okay.
So preparing for an adventure, check your weather.
Sure.
Your weather reports. We saw that happen with the Wentworth Springs recovery.
Yep.
They went out on a weekend trip and they didn't check to see how big the storm was going to be that was coming in. And they got snowed in for a few extra days than they were planning. So be very cognizant of the weather when you're planning your trip and just make sure that you prepare accordingly for the weather. But that weather is something you need to be safe and have in consideration. You have to respect the weather.
Yeah.
The weather, nature's not going to give a fuck where you are, what you're doing.
No.
So be safe with it. Don't underestimate it.
Don't underestimate it. Plan for a worst case scenario is one of the things that we've always harped on. I think that's a safety tip that actually neither one of us wrote down, but sort of plan for the worst, right?
Yeah.
We always tell
I actually have that as the very last point.
Oh, did you?
So yeah.
Oh, sorry. I stole it
You
from
took my very last one.
Yeah. We always have this joke with our significant others that we're going to go out wheeling, but we're planning for camping, right?
Yeah.
Because even though we're planning on going out for a 1-day wheeling trip, we're planning on spending the night in case that happens, in case the worst case situation sort of happens. We have food, we have stoves, we have sleeping attire. We're going to be ready for spending the night if it happens.
Yeah.
But we're planning on coming home.
Yeah, exactly.
So, plan for the worst, hope for the best.
Yep.
And I always like to say when playing with nature, remember that it is you that is playing.
Yes. That's a good one too. Hey, you got a nice cliche that's like straight through and didn't.
I've been saying that one for years, so I've got it down.
Yeah.
Well, since we're sort of talking about planning trips and
one thing on weather real quick.
Okay.
Onyx, I believe, has a way that you can check weather by tapping on the location on the map.
Oh, cool.
And Onyx is tapped into, I forget what weather service, but they have a way where you can click on the map and it'll give you kind of the current weather, highlight of current weather scenarios.
Okay.
And if you tap on it and go further, it'll take you to a website that will tell you the weather for those GPS coordinates for like a 24-hour period, 5-day, 10-day.
Nice.
So
As long as you have internet.
as long as you got internet.
Well, since we're there, why don't we
Yeah.
go to mapping?
Okay. Yeah.
Since we brought up Onyx.
Yeah.
Knowing where you're going, knowing where you're going to be is very important. And knowing the type of trail you're going to be off-roading in
Mhm.
is a very important thing. So there's a level of safety in forehand knowledge of what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the things is where you're going to go, but I'll let you kind of cover some of that just in a second. But I take this as you're also going to be informing your significant other or people staying home or maybe a family member or maybe a good friend that isn't going off-roading, so that if you aren't back in a day or you aren't back and you don't have any way to communicate back, somebody at home knows where you are.
Yeah.
And you have a map or you've told them or you showed them where you're going to be, so that if you don't report back, they can send authorities to go and find you in the location that you're supposed to be.
Yeah, for sure. That's a big thing. People need to know that you are gone, and they need to know when your estimated time of return is.
Yes.
It's always a bad scenario when your work has to call law enforcement because you haven't shown up to work in a week.
Sure.
So
Have you had to do that?
No, not yet.
Okay. We'll find out after
I might
today.
have to after today. Yeah, I was gonna say. So yeah, it's never good. The big thing about mapping that I think is the real valuable part is to know exactly where you are at all times.
Okay.
So you're not getting lost. You may
Yeah.
have an intended route,
Mhm.
and you may have gone and been there a lot. I mean, take case in point, the gentleman that got lost during the Friends of the Rubicon work party.
Yes.
He was very familiar with the Rubicon. Been there many, many, many times up on the trail, and got lost from the work party. He got a combination of heat exhaustion, whatever it was. Something happened mentally, and he got lost from the work party and ended up going the wrong direction, and ended up down in the hellhole reservoir.
Yeah.
So it's very important for you to not only know where you're gonna be, where you're going in, where you're coming out, that somebody else knows that you're there, but that you know where you are along that route as well, that you're still on your intended routes.
Absolutely.
So we're huge fans of Onyx Off-Road. Jimmy and I go to the Rubicon all the time. We know the trail very well. We know where we are, but you never know when that one day might happen where you're like, I want to go hiking today. I'm bored.
Mm-hmm.
And you end up in an area you're not super familiar with, or you get heat exhaustion like I'm prone to.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden your head does not work properly. You need to be able to have an objective way to rely on an outside source other than your own head as to where you are.
Yeah. Good point.
In my opinion. So,
And another good thing to do here is download offline maps
yes,
before
for
you
sure.
go, because you know where you're going to be going. And while you're out there, you don't have internet, possibly don't have internet, and then you won't get the map of where you are. You'll still get the blue dot or the dot telling you here's where you are, but you're going to have like a gray screen and no information about where you are.
Yeah.
The GPS still knows your location, but you won't have any internet to update the map and give you information about what's around you. So download the maps of where you're going before you head out on the trail.
Yeah. That's a big one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And Google Maps and Onyx Maps makes it very easy. If you don't want to pay for Onyx for whatever reason, Google Maps makes it very simple and easy to download offline maps. So at least you can see where you are. Google won't have all the data on it that Onyx does for off-road trails. They've been getting better, but they're still nowhere near Onyx. So, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
If you just are on a tight budget, download the Google Maps. It's better than having a gray screen.
Yeah.
So,
we've been talking about the winners from Yokohama Tire, but one thing I guess I'll just state it here is the next 50, which we're getting to 800 now.
Yeah,
we're going to be giving away an Onyx Elite membership.
True. Yeah.
So lately we've been just talking about, we'll talk about the next thing coming up.
Yeah.
But we've been thinking really high level, the next small level, once we get to 800 reviews on Apple Podcasts, and maybe we're going to open it up. I don't know how we're going to do this yet. We don't know.
We still need to figure out what Spotify is doing.
Yeah.
We still can't get straight answers from anybody. Once we figure that out, we'll figure out Spotify reviews and
Yeah.
whatnot. But yeah.
But the next item we're going to be giving away is an Onyx Elite membership for you guys. So go leave a review. If you don't want to pay for it, hopefully you can win it here.
Yeah.
That's all for mapping for me. Anything else from you?
That's the big part. Know where you're going in terms of planning, have the route kind of established and have a backup plan and an exit strategy, if you will. Let people know where you're going to be, and then you need to know where you are during the trip at all times as well.
Right.
So,
okay. Yeah, sounds good. The next one sorted down on my preparing for a trip, safety tips this is more of an item. It's just a first aid kit.
Ooh, that's a good one. I don't have one on my list.
You didn't?
No.
Yes. There's many levels of a first aid kit, from just like a little Band-Aid boo-boo first aid kit, all the way up to like a medical grade one. So pick and choose what you want. I have like a really in-depth one that sits in my rig, and then I have like a quick go bag that I carry when I'm going backpacking or hiking or any of that. That's just not as in-depth. So just have a first aid kit, know how to use most of the tools in there. If you do use them, refill it so that you don't have a problem. If a problem arises and then you have to go to your first aid kit and you're out of gear, that's a problem there also. So just have a first aid kit, know where it's at, know how to use the tools in there.
Yep. That's a good one, especially if you have an IV injection band.
Yeah. And you think it might be a tourniquet?
Whoopsie doopsie. Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Nick. And I think that's up on this Friday's episode. So get a little future cast there.
That's funny.
I don't remember.
That's a good one. For me, this one can kind of.
Is this another topic?
It is another topic. I'm trying to figure out if it relates, how well it relates to first aid kits or maybe preparing for a trip.
Yeah.
For me personally, and I think for any human being, we as human beings do not manage our temperature in different outdoor settings very well, like other animals do, right? And I seem to be an extreme of that for some reason. I do really, really well in the cold, but I do terrible in the heat. And so I have on here manage temperatures and have a way to do that. So one of the things, though, you were talking about first aid kits is a thing that I keep in my first aid kit is a way to start fire easily.
Okay.
To start a fire. So that's a way to cool off if you get too hot. And a way to warm up if you get too cold. Now, a lot of times, thankfully, because we're doing a lot of outdoor activities with a vehicle, that vehicle kind of helps with that scenario, with that safety part, right? To be able to
your heater on or your AC on.
Your heater on or your AC on. But there's other good options for that. Being able to start a warming fire somewhere.
Layers,
packing with layers. Knowing that you're going to be in the middle of summer, but wheeling near a water source, so you can jump in a river to cool off and keep your body temperature down. There's lots of different ways to manage your temperature. But that's something that you need to kind of watch for. I guess that goes in hand with looking at the weather too, right? Is be able to manage your temperature, and depending on the scenario, whatever works best for you is what works best. I've had to learn what I need to stay cooler and keep my body temperature down. If you are somebody who's like, I can't do with cold, I need to have a higher body temperature, then you know what you need to do in order to make that happen.
Yeah, get some hand warmers, but wear a bunch of layers. Get an electric blanket or electric jacket.
Yeah,
depending on how long you're going to be out. We've said it a few times, especially in one of our winter episodes, where those electric features are really nice until you run out of batteries.
Yeah.
So don't rely on them being your only source of heat.
Yeah.
If you need to stay cooler, maybe you brought an ice chest with you. Use some of that ice, drink some water, get some water on a rag and wrap it around your neck or over your head, or soak your shirt, and wear a wet shirt for a while, or get the AC going or whatever it is.
Yeah. That reminds me, a lot of times when I go to set up the repeater for Sierra Trek, the radio equipment, I will take a Rubicon Trail bandana and soak it with water and tie it around my neck. And it acts as sunshade for the neck on my skin.
Yeah.
As well as that's a really vital point that just helps keep you cool. A lot of the blood vessels, the major arteries in your body go through your neck. So if you can keep those cool, it helps keep the rest of your body cool too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. You want to keep going? Cause that was still kind of an extension of first aid kit, keeping yourself cool.
Yeah. Let's see. What's another prepared one I got? Let's go with next one, water. This kind of goes hand in hand with keeping managing your temperature, managing the correct hydration in your body goes a very, very long way as a human being to managing your temperature and managing your overall health.
Absolutely.
So dehydration, what is, oh my God, heat exhaustion, all of that.
He has that now, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm getting, dude, it's hot in here. It's 80 degrees in here. What the? No wonder I'm losing my mind. I'm going to get up and change this.
Get up and change that.
Got to change my temperature.
Yeah.
So yeah, water plays a good way. And for some reason, I think this is one of the big issues with me and why I get hot and overheated quickly.
You're closer to the sun.
Is because I'm closer to, that's why you don't. You're further away. No, I think that I'm always kind of like on the verge of dehydrated for some reason.
Maybe.
It seems like no matter how much water I drink, I always feel slightly dehydrated.
What do you have for lunch?
Nachos.
And?
A Sprite.
Sprite.
I had a coffee this morning and I have about 2 or 3 of those a day.
Of water?
Yeah.
It's about 20 ounces. Right
okay.
There.
So I'm having
that's
40 to 60 ounces of water a day roughly, and I still feel on the verge of dehydration. I don't know. It's weird. And like while I'm off-roading, I drink bottles of water. I have the 16.9 ounce bottles of water.
Yeah.
I'll go through 4 or 5 of those a day.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
So I don't know. I don't know why it is, but that's me personally. And I've found that out and I've learned how to manage it. So
yeah.
Water is a big thing for me, especially to try and keep up.
Well, and we've said it before on the podcast, but I'm going to bring it up again. The rule of threes, right?
Yeah.
The first one is, and these are the massive, most extreme things out there, but it's 3 minutes without shelter. Like if you're on the top, air.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. 3 minutes without air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like you just can't live 3 minutes without air. So that one's pretty self-explanatory. Then it's 3 hours without shelter, right?
If you're in like the most extreme cases,
like on the top of Everest, or something, right? You can't live longer than 3 hours without a shelter in the extreme cases.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food.
Yep.
And then I don't know if there's another one.
That's pretty much the gist of it, right? That's kind of that's the rule of 3 that Jimmy's talking about. And we as human beings, if you can make sure that those 3 things are covered, your chances of being safe and living through scenarios greatly is increased.
Yeah. And so water comes before food. Like you need to be hydrated. Like it's more important that you're being hydrated in your body, keeping your body hydrated, than it is about eating food.
Yeah.
But you still need to eat food.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm going with this, right? Is that you still need to constantly be having food. Food is one of those things that is super important for your body, and it's very important for your mind. And you're going to be making good decisions while you're off road or in the middle of nowhere, just hiking or biking or doing whatever you're doing. You need to have a clear mind and know what you're doing, so you're not going to do something stupid.
Yeah.
Like not put in your seatbelt or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah. But or hiking down to hellhole when you think you're going back to the work party.
Yeah. Being hydrated and being up on your food and being well nourished is very important, especially when you're outdoors. And so carry snacks with you, carry full meals with you, carry hydration packs, or, vitamins and mineral packs or liquid IVs or whatever those are, and carry some trail mix or some Snickers or some fruit, which is, high in natural sugars, which helps you gain energy quickly and lasts longer than artificial sweeteners. And then think about complex foods in there because it just takes your body longer to digest them and you don't have to worry about eating all the time. So there's many levels you could go down this food and water rabbit hole, but just make sure that you have food and water available. And like we have sort of started this conversation, be prepared, know what you're getting yourself into, and pack for more than what you're going to be doing.
Yep. For sure. Let's see. Anything else kind of preparing? I mean, this one, I think I
have two more.
You have two more?
Mm-hmm.
This one, let's go with yours too, because mine is more like you need to consider it while you're there, but you need to have it with you. So you need to prepare to bring it with you.
Well, that's sort of where I am. The next one I'll sort of bring up is trail repair kits and recovery equipment.
Okay. Yeah.
Just make like and this is, we're an off-road podcast. This is focused right at the off-road industry. Just one of the things I'm thinking about is the glue tread glue. Like if you've had your glue tread glue for a year, time to throw it away, time to order some new ones, time to throw that in that recovery bag because that glue goes bad. It does not last forever. It only lasts for a year. And if you're out on the trail and you get a puncture and you're like, I got glue tread and the glue's dried up, you're screwed.
Yep.
So
been there.
Yeah. And I ordered more glue because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so just be aware of your recovery equipment, your tire repair gear, your tools that we've been talking about for weeks.
Yeah.
Just plan accordingly. If you use your tools in the garage and you pull them out of your off-road rig, go back and organize your tools and set everything back up in for that off-road trip that you're going on. So that while you're out on the trail, you don't go, oh crap, I forgot this one tool in the toolbox at home because I used it this one time. No, like make yourself a checklist or something. Get that off-road gear and the recovery gear inspected. Make sure that you don't have your straps aren't fraying. Make sure that they're cleaned after a trip and that they're dry, not molding. They're make sure that you're throwing away all the D-links and buying soft shackles, I think
there's a bigger, I don't want to say a bigger point. Another kind of spin-off of that point too is even while you're on your adventure, if you've inspected all your recovery gear before your trip to make sure that your recovery gear is good for your upcoming trip to be safe on your trip, and you use the recovery gear, you still need to be looking at it before you use it again.
Sure.
Just because you inspect at the beginning of the trip does not mean by the end of the trip it's still good equipment.
Right. Or at the end of the trip, inspect it again. If you used your winch at the beginning of the trip or during the trip, at the end of the trip, pull that thing back out, tie it to a tree and pull yourself back in gently, or use a tree saver, and to re-spool it. Like you're not putting a ton of stress on a tree. Do a lamp post or something, re-spool that winch up so that it's ready to go the next time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So check your recovery gear before you use it. Check it before your trip. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're reliant on bad recovery gear.
Yeah.
And bad tools. Like,
or
that's not a good spot to be in.
Not having the appropriate parts.
Yeah.
And all that. Shall I go again? Or you got one more?
Yeah, go for it. I got another one kind of on that same concept.
Whoa.
Sorry, there's the Sprite coming up. I got another one on that same concept, just different tools.
Okay.
Different parts, I guess.
Well, the last one on my list is just a fire extinguisher.
Okay. Yeah, good. That's a good one.
Just have a fire extinguisher with you. I have the Element inside my rig. I know that they're now banned or not being sold in California.
Not certified in California.
But I think that that's bullshit. Especially after watching Ultra 4 Jones's videos on them, which was quite amazing.
They definitely have a use case scenario that they're very useful for.
Yes.
So,
and one thing I should probably improve is I have the Element. I don't have another style. I think I should have another version, another type of fire extinguisher, just in case another type of thing comes around or I need to use more than one at a time. So I think, but having a fire extinguisher, we play with fire sometimes and we need a way to turn that off whether that's the bang, spark, boom of our engines and, something happening with our rig, or, just the fire sitting around camp.
Yeah.
Like, we just need a way to protect ourselves and protect the environment around us.
I will say the fire extinguishers are a tricky topic for off-roaders because we don't use them very often, and we hope that we never do have to use them. So we're really bad at checking them to make sure that they're still good.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times you'll go to use your fire extinguisher when you really need it, and it doesn't work, or it only works half time or something like that, right? So it's a tricky situation. The nice thing about the elements is they never go bad.
Yes.
So you have them forever. The bad thing about the element is that they're not going to do a lot with a bigger fire.
No.
You need to catch the fire very early in order for them to work really well. But they do work if you're able to do that. So the other thing that I've found recently, and the MFers found actually down at King of the Hammers, was a company called Russo, R-U-S-O-H. I think there's an H on there. R-U-S-O fire extinguishers. And they are good pretty much almost forever because they don't package the powder and the pressurization in the same canister.
Okay.
So the pressurization comes from like cartridges like you would have for like an air gun.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, like a pellet gun. You put in an air cartridge into a pellet gun and to pressurize it. So the pressure is held in this cartridge, this pressurized cartridge that doesn't get ejected into the chamber where all your powder is until you're ready to use it. So that means that with the powder in the bottom of the chamber, it also has an agitator that you can manually turn. So when it can just sit forever, and when you're ready to use it, as long as your cartridge is still good, pressurized, you can spin the agitator on it to mix up the powder and make it more free flowing and not just globbed up the way fire extinguisher powder does in the bottom of canisters.
Mm-hmm.
You can agitate it and then pressurize it as you use it. Right. And so it's something that is going to last you a much longer time than a regular basic fire extinguisher that we're used to seeing out on the trails, right? So they're a company I've been trying to get a hold of to get on the podcast to an interview because that's a really good concept. They're expensive fire extinguishers, but it's kind of like Element. You buy them once and they last much longer than the same lifespan of multiple of your basic fire extinguishers.
Right.
So it's worth the investment, and they're going to work every time for you.
Yeah. And I thought I want to just go back a hair because I think you brought up a good point. If you have a fire extinguisher, go check it.
Yeah.
Make sure that's still good. Make sure the bar is in the green. Yep. Shake it.
Yes.
Mix it up. I know that Jason from Wheeling Wine and Whiskey, whenever he sees a fire extinguisher around, he grabs it and shakes it and see if it's globbed up and in a chunk or if it's still free floating. And I think that's a hilarious but awesome thing he does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, cool. All right. That was my last one, sort of safety tips for preparing and planning a trip. Did you have another one you wanted to add in there?
Yeah, this one is more of, this goes along with a lot of topics that we've talked about already, and it helps a lot of the topics function that we've already talked about.
Okay.
And that's communication.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, you need to, in my opinion, you need to have a way to get in touch with help if you end up needing help. And so we like to go outside. We like to go recreate in the outdoors. A lot of times we're going outdoors to get away from people. We're going to get away from social media. So you don't have to like run your communication system while you're outdoors, enjoying the outdoors, but you need to have some way. You need to bring it with you and have a backup plan, an emergency plan in order to be safe and to make sure that you can get home safely. Right. And communications can also help your mapping software.
Mm-hmm.
If you have internet ability, so in the form of like, say, a Starlink, take a Starlink with you, and you decide you get through halfway and you're like, ah, shit, I didn't download the whole thing, or I didn't give my phone enough time to download the entire map before I left and lost cell service. So that kind of thing, just having some sort of communication ability to reach out to spotters or people that you're doing a recovery with so that you can communicate during the recovery, during the spotting. If you need to go down and scout something, being able to talk back to the people in your group if you fall down while you're out scouting something. Having that ability to stay in communication with people if you need to. You don't need to. If you don't want to run your communication stuff, you don't have to. But you should still have the ability to if you need to, right?
Absolutely.
And so for like mapping, so going back to your point of people knowing, where you are, where you're going in, where you're coming out, when you're coming out.
Yeah.
You can take that one step further and run an APRS radio, and people know exactly where you are the whole time. And they're like, shit, Jimmy hasn't moved in 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should start looking into what's going on. And, obviously you can do that with Starlink. You could send a ping out through Google Maps to people, which is completely free. You just have to have Starlink to do it, I guess. But you can still do it so people know exactly where you are. There's lots of different ways that some of the other topics we've already talked about that you can use communications to better those topics, right?
Absolutely.
As well as get in touch with people if you need to.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's many levels of comms.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's many different types of comms.
Mm-hmm.
And you just need to find out what one's going to kind of work better for you. I think most of us look at comms as a way that we can communicate on the trail with our buddies that we're off-roading with. But you need to consider having comms as a level of getting out of the area that you're in case of an emergency, so that you can get help either for yourself or for somebody else.
Yeah.
And maybe your rig broke down and it's not that bad, and you need to get comms to your wife to tell her you're going to be an extra day to get your rig fixed. Or maybe somebody got hit or ran over on the trail and you need to get a helicopter in there ASAP, and you need to be able to call or get out with the comms. So whether it's a ham or Starlink, or even some places
InReach works great.
Yeah. Don't rely on your cell phone, and I would say have redundancy if possible.
Yep. If you have some of the new cell phones coming out, so T-Mobile is partnering with Starlink to be able to do satellite comms through a cell phone.
Yep.
iPhone 15, I think it is, and newer, has satellite texting available now. And I know that a lot of other carriers are going to start implementing that as well. So there's different options out there. Find something. Just have something to be able to get back in touch with people as your safety plan, as your oh shit, fail safe plan kind of thing. So,
right.
Yeah.
All right. I like it. I think that's it for like my sort of planning and stuff.
Yeah.
Now I kind of go to actually on trail safety tips.
Yeah. I think that's I'm kind of about there too.
Okay. So my next one is strap stuff down.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right? Especially for me with a truck. I'm notorious for just throwing crap in the bed.
Yeah.
Right? Which is a bad thing, because if I ever get into a situation where I'm leaning over or I roll over, then I make a yard sale. But what it's really bad is when you just throw things in the back of your vehicle or within the cab, or if you've got Tyler, for example, who has an SUV, and you're just throwing things in the back of the vehicle in the whole SUV cab. The problem is if you hit a really gnarly bump, or you hit something unexpected, or you drop off a ledge unexpected, or worst case scenario, you roll over, everything then becomes a projectile.
To you and your body.
To you and everything inside that vehicle.
Yep.
And I throw a toolbox in my cab in the back, and I haven't tied it down, but I have started to lately. And that toolbox is heavy.
Yep.
And if I rolled over and rolled around a little bit, I don't know where that toolbox would go.
Yeah.
It could hit me. It could hit my wife. If the kiddo's in the back, that could be even a worse situation.
And she might dent the toolbox.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And it could hit one of us in the head, or it could, it could do some serious damage. So strap things down, a sweatshirt or a sleeping bag or something that's not going to hurt anybody. Don't put your main concern into that. but toolboxes, tool bags are like some of the large things you think about. Ice chests, coolers, anything that's got some weight behind it that is not soft. I would strap it down just in case of an emergency. Then you just feel a little safer. It makes it, and it might save your life.
Yeah, I'm a really, really bad proponent of that. I'm a big proponent. I'm just bad at following my own proponency.
Yeah.
So I'm really bad about having the SUV and just throwing shit in the cargo area and not tying it down. And that's something that I need to change, and I know I need to change it. And I need to do it before a disaster happens. So yeah.
Maybe you could put up a divider wall. How often do you send stuff from the back of your cab that goes up into the seats?
Not often, especially now that we have a car seat back there when we go wheeling. I've got it all organized where it all fits in the rear cargo area pretty well. And I set it up so all the soft things like blankets and pillows, if something's going to come over the back seat and into the back seat area, it's going to be blankets and pillows.
Sure.
So yeah, divider wall, I think would be a really good way to go, or like a one of those really big, thick 2-inch webbing nets.
Yeah.
Put up there. That way, if I don't need it, I can pull it down.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a really good way to go as well. I need to do something though to keep the cargo area, and to keep stuff from coming into the cab
where your child is,
where the child is, and where the wife is, and myself and everything. If something bad were to happen at the vehicle, so
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think we talked about that one enough. That's
We
simple.
threw a dead cat across a yard with
Yeah.
that one.
I was going to say like we beat that one down, but strapping it down, but something like that. I think that one's self-explanatory. Just, anything that could fly around that could hurt you.
Yep.
Make sure it can't fly around.
Yep. Another one, these are all kind of things that I think are pretty equally as important. I'm going to talk about one now because we saw it recently. Up on Fordyce this year in the, what's the OHV area over there called?
Not Bear Valley.
Not Bear Valley.
On Fordyce?
Yeah.
Oh, Pierce
OHV area.
Okay.
Somebody tried to cross the river there, and didn't check the water depth.
Okay.
And sunk their Nissan truck with a rooftop tent on it. And the rooftop tent was a foot and a half underwater.
Oh no.
So all you could see was like the top of the rooftop tent in the water there.
Wow.
That's how deep it was there. And I don't know why they thought they could cross there or whatever, but that goes to water crossings. Check your water depth. Be very careful, cautious of water crossings. I think that people watch shows like 4-wheel drive 24/7. They're notorious for doing water crossings, right? And Australia in general is notorious for water crossings. I think Australia is the one that invented the vehicle snorkel, but it looks fun and it can be fun, but there are so many things that can go bad very quickly with water crossings. And us being vehicular recreationalists, if we lose our vehicle, that's a really, really big problem. So, it's check the water depths before you do water crossings. Like I'm paranoid with water crossings. If anything is like getting up to the point where it's like reaching my sliders, I'm like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'll go home. But yeah, water crossings, be very careful with them. Especially if you're in an area where you don't normally do water crossings. There's a strategy for doing water crossings, and checking water depths and making sure that the water depth is not going to go beyond what you're comfortable with, whether that's your air box for your engine. Some guys got stuck this year on the other side of the second river crossing on Fordyce.
Oh yeah. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, they got stuck over there for an extra 3 days, I think it was.
Okay.
And what they ended up doing was they took off their air box and turned it upwards. And then they were able to, I want to say they were able to duct tape a tube to the end, like cut a hole in their air box, duct tape a tube of some kind to extend the air inlet even higher, and ran with their hood open to get across the river.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just go out towards Meadow Lake.
My guess is they didn't, either they weren't capable or the other river crossing was deep too there. I don't know. I'm guessing the water came up while they got across the river and then the water came up.
Yeah. Cause I'm not sure where they were. Cause you do cross the river a few times. Maybe it got higher than, and they were in a position. I don't know. Is there a position? I mean, after you do the first water crossing, you're on the other side of the river.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another river.
There's a second river crossing. There's 3 river crossings and committee crossing.
Okay.
So committee is, you don't have to go across committee if you're staying on the Fordyce Trail.
Correct.
You have to go across the committee crossing in order to get in and out of the halfway point of the trail. But that's all closed right now. You can't get out Meadow Lake Road, Rattlesnake Road.
Right.
So, there's 3 river crossings then on the main trail.
Yeah. I don't know enough about where they were, but besides the point of this episode, the point is check the river depths, check the water depths. You can always wade out there and check it. You can attempt by throwing a rock or throwing a stick or poking at it first, but you're not going to be able to see what's going on deeper in there. In my opinion, the best thing, unfortunately, is to actually get out in the river. 1, you get to see how deep it goes. 2, you feel like what you're going to be driving on with your feet.
Yep.
Whether it's going to be soft mud, which could be a potential problem, or if you have a rocky base, that could be beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know the area and you don't know what's in front of you, you either check it out or turn around.
Another really good way to check water depths. Here's your tip for the day from Tyler.
Okay.
Tyler's tip for the day is to grab your buddy's vehicle. Drive your buddy's vehicle out first, and that way you get a good idea.
With the winch connected. Yeah. Up here in California, we also have Dream Flows.
Yeah.
So Dream Flows is a website that tracks a bunch of rivers out here, which includes our Fordyce Creek. So that everybody that's going out and to run Fordyce, you can check Dream Flows, and it'll tell you what the river is currently at and how it's been throughout the last few days, whether they're rising, whether they're opening the gates or not.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can see how fast the river is flowing, and you can get an idea if you can cross or
That's
not.
a really good one. Yep.
I don't know if they have that, or if that covers a bunch of other states or other areas, or if there's other things like this in other states. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And the other part of that is you may know the flow that the river is at, but what is the safe crossing flow?
Sure.
And so for Fordyce, if I see Dream Flows saying that Fordyce is flowing at 250 CFS or higher, that's kind of the breaking limit for me.
Yeah.
There's other people that'll go out there at 300 and 350. I won't touch it at that.
Nope.
So, yeah.
200, safe crossing.
Yep.
Higher than that, good luck.
Yeah. Cool. What's next on your safety tips while adventuring?
Along with water, and we kind of talked about this a little bit by using your buddy's rig in a way, but it was to use a spotter.
Oh, yeah.
So you could drive your buddy's rig into the creek, and that he'll be spotting for you on how that is.
Yeah.
Or if you're going out on a trail and there's an obstacle in front of you, you're not sure how to attack it.
Let your buddy go.
Let your buddy go first, or ask for help. Right?
Yeah.
If using a spotter is not cheating. It's a tool at your disposal. It's a way to help you get through the trail undamaged, unscathed, and to help you out. It's not necessarily like a safety tip, but it is safe. It is safer than just trying it yourself if you're unsure on what to do, or you come into a difficult situation.
Yep.
Because if you don't use a spotter, there's a bigger or more likely that you could get yourself into a situation where you get stuck. You can break a vehicle. You could have a rollover, where if you have a spotter that's kind of seen what's going on outside the vehicle and where your tires are, they could potentially stop you before there was a big problem.
Yep. And along that lines, don't be afraid to be your own spotter as well.
True.
Don't be afraid to get out and scout. If you can't see down a ledge as to how tall the ledge is, or if there's anything in the middle of the ledge you need to be aware of, just get out and look at it.
Yeah.
I've had to do that many, many times out on the Rubicon, especially at nighttime in the first gen 4Runner with its stock headlights. There's one time I had to come out of the Rubicon using a flashlight. I had to get out every 30 to 50 feet and look as I was getting across the bowl and the slabs there, to make sure that I didn't go over a ledge, because the headlights on that thing didn't work for shit at night. So yeah, don't be afraid to be your own spotter too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, get out.
Cool. You got another one?
Yeah. Along that lines, we're talking about, using your buddy's vehicle to scout water depths, using your buddy's vehicle to scout obstacles for you.
Sure.
Go with a buddy.
Yeah.
Go with a buddy. Have somebody there. More people equals more resources available if things go bad. It's one of the, like, kind of wearing your seatbelt. It's the number one way to help you have a successful trip is to have somebody else there.
Sure.
If you really don't want to go with another person, you're like, just going out in nature by yourself is your jam. My grandfather was notorious for this. Go very well prepared.
Yeah. Over prepared.
Go over prepared. So either go with a buddy or go over prepared. That is kind of my safety tips for going out.
Scout's honor.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Buddy system's a big one. I mean, I think that's one of the Boy Scouts mottos for the most part.
Yeah.
But yeah. And it's more fun.
Yeah, it is
more fun to have a buddy.
Yep.
Nice. Okay. I know you have this next one on your list, so I'm going to go with the one that you might not have.
Okay.
And these are my last two, so I don't think you have one of them. But I'm going to say have an e-brake, some way to hold your vehicle still, and or use a big old rock to stop you from rolling. Yep. There's many times while we're off-roading that we will leave our vehicle idling and on. And if you don't have an e-brake, then you're in neutral, possibly. Mm-hmm. And your vehicle is just idling there. So, worst case is you positioned yourself against a rock so that the vehicle hopefully won't go anywhere. Mm-hmm. Or I guess better case is you have an e-brake so that you can hop out and do whatever needs to do to go scout or help your buddy do something, or, check something out, whatever it is. If you don't have either of those available, turn your rig off.
Turn it off. Yep.
Turn it off, leave it in gear.
Yep.
Right? But have some way. I know Tyler used to carry tire chocks with him.
I did.
Because didn't have an e-brake.
Yep.
And he would put himself into a situation and he would use tire chocks to make sure his rig didn't go anywhere.
Yep. So I used to be like, yeah, parking brakes. If you have a manual or you put your transmission in park, turn the engine off. Not a big deal. Like if you're looking at getting out of the vehicle, then you just have another step. It's less convenient. You don't get to leave your vehicle on. You have to turn it off, right? Mm-hmm. And then the kid got ran over on the Rubicon.
Yep.
And ever since then, I was like, everybody should have a parking brake. Mm-hmm. Something, even if it's tire chocks. That's the first. You get out of a vehicle, you put your tire chocks down.
Right.
So what happened was the guy had a manual transmission Toyota. And parked the vehicle, quote unquote, turned it off in gear, left it in gear. And the son hopped out of the vehicle. The daughter was working on her getting her way through the back seat and out the door. And the dog came through the center console and knocked the transmission shifter into neutral. The car rolled over the son. I'm just going to leave it there. So it was a tragedy. Have a parking brake. I used to think of it like, yeah, it's just a mild inconvenience if I don't have a parking brake. And now that I have a parking brake, and when I had the driveline parking brake on the first gen 4Runner, like anytime I wasn't able to use that driveline brake, and then since I had the second gen without any parking brake, I'm always just like, it's always in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
When is this thing going to pop into neutral without me wanting it to, and something bad's going to happen?
Sure.
So I now have that peace of mind now that I have the Willwood parking brakes on there, and I love that parking brake setup. It's expensive. It's not for everybody. It's pretty much a universal application, but it's have something, a line lock, tire chocks, something. Yeah. So you don't want that tragedy to happen.
No. So. Yeah. And it's like, that was a tragedy, but there's always the case that, it just slips loose, or you didn't park it perfectly and it just continues to roll. And, your vehicle could just roll down a hill, or, slide into somebody else's rig, or, there's really bad cases and there's some not so bad cases, but it's just one of those things, like, just get a parking brake. It's not that big of a deal. I did a rear disc brake conversion, and then that eliminates my parking brake. So I put a line lock in. I figured out a way to put a braking system on there. I don't trust the line lock 100%, so I don't want to leave it for an extended period of time with the line lock on there. I will still park my truck in a position that I would consider it safe one way, and I'm still line locking it.
Yeah.
So there's just, I'm just trying to be as safe as possible with the vehicle. Vehicles are heavy.
Yep.
They can do some damage. Ask CJ with the CJ.
Yep.
But yeah, so just get a line lock, get a parking brake, get some sort of wheel chocks. Worst case scenario, just figure out some way to keep your vehicle still when you want it to be still.
Yep. Yeah, big safety tip there. So I had that one on my list as well.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. This one is, I think, the one that you think I have. Stay clear of recovery situations.
Yeah.
Make sure you are out of harm's way if things go bad. Kind of like the warning about vehicles are very heavy. They can do a lot of damage very quickly to a human being. Same thing happens with recovery equipment. We talked a little bit earlier about checking your recovery equipment, make sure it's good before you use it every single time. But that also goes to stay clear of it, stay in the safe areas. If your recovery equipment were to fail, for whatever reason, doesn't matter. If your recovery equipment fails, then you need to be able to stay clear of that failure killing you.
Yes.
Or harming you or other people. If you see somebody else standing in the wrong spot in a recovery situation, tell them.
Yeah.
That's another thing I'm kind of notorious about. People are notorious for winching, standing in front of their vehicle right next to their winch with the wired controller, right? And I'm like, you're in the worst spot.
Yeah.
For winching.
Absolutely.
Get the fuck out of there. So there's that. Also along the lines of parking brakes.
Okay.
Is if you are recovering, rolling over a vehicle, make sure the parking brake is turned on or the transmission is in park.
Yes.
So that when you roll it back over onto its wheels, it does not roll. That's another use of parking brakes.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, stay clear of recovery situations. Know where the safe zones are in a recovery situation. Know how the physics is going to work when things fail. And don't be in those areas.
Smart.
So
yeah. And if you're unclear about that, just stand way, way, way away.
The further away, the better is really the safe zone. So
take into account how long, like, let's just use a winch pole situation or just even a static pole. Take into account how long that rope is and stand at least that far away.
Yeah. Yep.
Because if it breaks on one end or the other, it could come right at you and it will be that long.
Yep.
The likelihood that it'll happen in that perfect scenario is very low, but that's your safest distance away.
Yep. And just never stand in line with the forces at play.
Yeah.
Typically if something breaks, it's going to shoot straight forward or straight backwards, usually. Right. So don't stand in that line. That's why standing in front of your vehicle next to the winch while you're winching is the worst spot to be. So,
yep. For sure.
What's your next one?
That's all I got.
Oh, I have one more then.
Okay.
And this one I've had close scares with, and then I realize it like as I'm like, oh my God, I almost died. I need to not be here. And it kind of goes in line with recovery situation. Be in the safe zone. Don't stand on the downhill side of vehicles.
Yes. That's an excellent tip.
That's and I see people do that all the time. I'm just like standing, up above the situation, looking at what's going on. And I'm like, bro, you're in the wrong spot. Do not stand there. And right now in this situation, don't stand downhill of vehicles. It's vehicles are big and heavy and they can move very quickly and they do some major damage to human beings. So gravity will always win in that fight. Just if you can avoid it at all costs, downhill of a vehicle is where you don't want to be.
Sure.
So be anywhere
Good
else.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an excellent one.
Yeah.
And even like if the vehicle's parked, I've seen vehicles shift
Yeah.
being parked.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it's just a little sandy or a little gravelly and you're just sitting there and all of a sudden you hear this like little pop and you see a vehicle like slip down and a little rock shoot out. That's all it takes.
Yep.
And then the vehicle could roll.
Mm-hmm.
It could shift down onto you. It could slide down the rock. And you just don't want to be on the downhill side of any of that.
Jason Green was getting in his buggy after parking it precariously.
Yep.
And just the weight shifting of him getting in the buggy made the buggy roll.
Pretty much. I was there.
Yeah, you were there on that trip.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's don't be on the downhill side. Gravity's going to win. Be aware of physics and where things are going.
Yep.
If things happen the wrong way, know where they're going to go and don't be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I think that's a good list.
Mm-hmm.
I counted it out. I think we got to 15 items there.
Nice.
There's still 100 more
Yeah.
safety tips out there.
Yep.
If there was a major one that we missed that you feel absolutely needs to be talked about, please call into our snail mail episode, 916-345-4744. Tell us about your safety tips, some other tips that you have. I also think that there's tips in kind of other areas of this country that we don't consider because it's not our typical type of wheeling.
Yeah.
Like maybe some of the Moab people have different tips, or maybe some of the mud people have different tips, or some ice people or snow people have different tips and tricks than what we have, because we're just accustomed to the Northern California rock crawling, Sierra Nevada style off-roading. And that's sort of what we were focusing all these on. So who knows
Like Nick,
what else is
one
out
of
there.
Nick's safety tips may be carry bear spray with you.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, Montanians.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might need to carry that bug spray to keep those mosquitoes that are size of pterodactyls away.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah, who knows? But I mean, even maybe bug spray could be a tip, who knows?
It is
what's
right
out
now, this time of year on the Rubicon.
Especially on the Rubicon.
Yeah.
So yeah, call in, give us your advice, give us some tips for you or things that you guys do or what's it goes on in your area. I think this is one of those topics that should never end because it's great knowledge for everybody out there.
Yeah, for sure. I don't care. Even if we're at like episode 821 and somebody's like, hey, I just listened to episode 614. You can still call in. This is a topic I would love to keep adding to, kind of like trail ratings, I guess.
Yeah.
Our ongoing trail rating debate. So yeah, call in. I love hearing safety tips and just things that people are considering when you're out doing stuff that we do in this dangerous hobby. So
for sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good. You can also get a hold of us on Instagram. I'm over at SnailTrail4x4. Tyler's over at 4x4 Toyota Tyler. Or you can email us, Jimmy or Tyler at SnailTrail4x4.com.
Sweet. I like it a lot. Jimmy, final words to leave everybody with on this Monday.
We hinted at this one. You said it early on in the episode. We didn't bring it up as a topic, but don't drink and drive.
Yeah, please. Yeah, it's just dumb.
Yep.
So
don't be dumb.
Don't be dumb.
That's what I might name the article, the episode that.
Nice. Yeah. So I guess with that, my friends, keep crawling.
I got one for you.
Okay. You seem a little too excited over there.
This one's pretty good, actually.
Okay. I'm ready. I'm ready for good ones.
Kind of good.
All right.
Not a one-liner either.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah. So that's a benefit.
I like
for
the
you.
ones I get to guess.
Right. Yeah,
I'm
that's
getting
good.
better at those now. All right. What do we got?
So picture this.
Okay.
I know this one's going to be a stretch, but try to picture it. So you're at an Apple store.
Like a phone or like a fruit stand?
Like the phone, the tech the Tech Apple store. Let's just pretend that
Okay.
you're there. You can
Okay.
pretend because I know you pretend that
Trying.
you're tall.
Okay.
So you're at an Apple store and you see a robbery.
Okay.
What does that make you?
A bystander.
No.
I don't know.
You're an eyewitness.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.